All right, welcome into Before Floor, an extension of 5 on the Floor here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. I can't even count how many streams we've had over the past 3 days, how many videos. If you hit subscribe, you would find out when all of those are coming. So make sure you hit that button. We appreciate the support. Also appreciate the support of our sponsors. That includes Biscayne Bay Brewing, the official beer of the 5 Reasons Sports Network and of the Miami Marlins. Also got 2 kiosks here at FTX Arena, in the 100 level and the 300 level. Give a shot to the Tropical Bay IPA, the Pastime Pilsner, and all of their other great beers. This is great locally brewed beer, not from out of state, not from out of the country. It's right here in South Florida. Support Miami, so it's Biscayne Bay Brewing. Also, support our friend Mark Brown, but he'll support you. MARCBrownPA.com, the man with the plan. He'll sit down with you to design an estate plan for you. He's also got a title company right there in-house. If you're young with a family, you should take care of this. Make sure that everything you have goes to the right person or place. Mark Brown, again, is a big Heat fan, too, so I've already seen him down here tonight. 954-566-5678, 954-566-5678, MARCBrownPA.com. All right, let's get to the group here. We've got Greg Sylvander up on the top. You follow me, Greg Sylvander. Alejandro Villegas, our producer. Alejandro VG32. Brady Hawk below me. Brady Hawk 305. Ricky J. Mark at Ricky J. Mark. And Tony Schwartz at Tony Schwartz NBA, I believe. It's always changing. But let's get to it, Brady, because there was some late-breaking news tonight. We did 3,000 previews, and they're all irrelevant. So now we have to do this one. Who's in and who's out for these teams tonight?
Yeah, the one we were kind of preparing for, Kyle Lowry, is officially out. But that doesn't really even seem to be talked about anymore because of the changes to Boston. No Marcus Smart and no Al Horford, which was kind of the one that came out of nowhere. The reason I think, other than the fact that you're losing 2 starters, it changed a lot for what they do on both sides of the ball. I think one of the biggest things what we talked about is how do you get them? You got to kind of get the screener and use Horford because that's the one guy on the floor that's going to play drop. Now with both Williams, it's just a bunch of switching all over the floor. And the one thing now is that you got to utilize depth because Boston has basically 2 bench players that they're going to use tonight. That's Peyton Pritchard and Daniel Tice. So very different Boston Celtics look starting now in Game 1.
Yeah, Brady, I was taking you seriously, but when Bernie comes by, you've got to honor it. That's how this works out here. That's what I have to say.
Good decision.
That video is going to my daughter, so that's all that matters. But, okay, let's get into this from a Heat perspective, Greg, because obviously nobody's going to talk about the absence of Lowry because it's almost like Lowry didn't side with the Heat based on the conversation about them. But also the Heat have had time to prepare for that. They've known for a while that they likely weren't going to have Kyle Lowry for Game 1 of this series. Gabe Vincent is prepared to be a starter. It's a little different on Boston's end. Marcus Smart was questionable, but the Al Horford thing comes out of nowhere, even though apparently I'm talking to some Boston media, this is his 3rd time this year that he's tested positive, and we're not entirely sure he's vaccinated. So this actually could be a little bit longer than just the 2 games. We'll see, even though Udoka said don't rule him out for Game 2. So we'll see how that goes. But just looking at it from the Heat's perspective, they can still roll 11 guys tonight. And like Brady was saying, Boston probably rolls 7.
Yeah, no, and they probably will trust 6 to that point because that's kind of how they trended in the last series. I know they have Robert Williams back, but it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust. And I saw the photo that's circulating of shoot-around today of Al Horford today leading the huddle in the middle of the entire team today. And he's now out with COVID. So we'll have to see what the implications of that are. I hope that the Celtics players don't breathe on the Heat. That would be one of my keys to the game so that they don't spread any of that over this way. And I just think that this is, again, a series where the Heat need to take care of business on home floor. Every time they've played the Celtics and beat them, they beat them in Game 1. So if you're looking for a trend, there's one for you there. So I just think this is an important game for the Heat to get rested. And you're right. They've had time to prepare. So while they're down a man in Lowry, the reinforcements are ready to roll,
Well, to the point, Ricky, if you look at that photo, Jaylen Brown's in that photo too, and he's another of the guys that supposedly was not vaccinated. So this really could be a story of the series. But I've made the point all year, and I think others have, you just build the best roster you can. That's all. You build the best roster, the deepest roster you can, and that way you can overcome as many of these things as possible. The Heat have done that, even though people don't think they have the top-end talent of some of these other teams. But Boston being thin, how much does that hurt them tonight?
I think it hurts them a good deal, mainly because while Robert Williams is technically back, this is a guy who rushed back from a meniscus injury that he probably shouldn't have dealt with the way he did, because those kinds of surgeries, as we know from Dwayne Wade's career, could shorten your career by about like around 30%. So he's not necessarily himself and probably won't be until the end of the season. However, Marcus Smart is the heart and soul of that team. He's out. Jaylen Brown is still there. Jason Tatum is still there. Outside of him, you've got a bunch of scrappy role players that if you're a Heat fan and they were on your team, you'd be like, okay, yeah, we'll go to war with those guys, and they'll deliver. They'll give us a little bit of Game 7. But I got some news for some of the Celtics fans that may or may not be lurking in the comments right now. If that were Miami in Game 7, y'all would have been home right now. We'd be playing the Bucks. So don't get too excited over that Game 7 blowout of a Bucks team that refused to adjust. But as far as how this team will look without Marcus Smart, is going to be interesting, because that could potentially open the floodgates for the artist formerly known as number 14, according to the basement. That could make things interesting.
Well, Tony, that's the thing. And we'll keep talking about Tyler. When is the breakout going to be? I mean, I talked to him yesterday. He's like, I'm a killer against the drop. Brady and I were talking about this. He's not going to see as much drop probably now as he would have. But he also won't see Marcus Smart glued to his hip, right? So, I mean, that could give him some up. I mean, Boston fans literally comparing Peyton Pritchard to Tyler Herro the last 2 days. I don't know what to say about that, but he's probably going to see a lot of Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little disrespectful, honestly. I don't know if they watch Peyton Pritchard to see what he's capable of doing, but it's nothing to what Tyler Herro's capable of. Tyler might not see a lot of drop, but without Marcus Smart in that court, he might see a lot of bent defenses. And I think that watching Tyler get more and more comfortable going to the rim and being able to create that kind of pressure and score the ball from the other two levels is going to open up his game a lot against Boston without Marcus Smart. But no Al Horford means, they're going to really have to rely on those 6-7 guys that are in their rotation coming off of a brutal 7-game series with Milwaukee. So we're talking about now you're down 2 guys. Your prize for beating this one athletic freak that pounded you for 7 games is, okay, now go play with 7 dudes. And also you don't get an inch of space with Bam, PJ, and Tucker guarding you for, 4 quarters. So there's a lot of opportunity for dudes tonight. Tyler's definitely one of those guys. But maybe I wouldn't be super surprised if it's the typical Heat package of, Jimmy kind of feasting on opponents and mismatches either, because I just think these dudes are going to be tired after coming off of those series.
Right. I asked Jimmy yesterday if he expected different coverages this series. I don't care. Honestly, I don't care. Was his response. It hasn't seemed to matter, right? So, I mean, what is the coverage now that they don't have Horford and Smart? What's the coverage they throw at Jimmy tonight?
Well, I think the idea is just to switch a ton, because now they have basically an all switchable lineup that they're just going to try to flatten them out in that way. But I think the difference is now is you have Derek White in place of Marcus Smart, and that's going to be the valve for Jimmy Butler. He's going to be looking at that and saying, I want a small guard on my back in the mid post, and I'm going to turn around and get to my jumper. I'm going to get to the rim, and that's going to be a guy. So I'm looking at probably Gabe Vincent, because I expect Derek White to probably guard Gabe Vincent. It's be a lot of guard screening. That's kind of the expectation in this series anyway, and that's going to be the continued thing. To say about how they're going to cover him, maybe some blitzes, but I just can't even see that out the gate. Maybe that's if he comes out and starts playing really well like he did against Philly. Other than that, I can't really see them throwing a double at him, because a double at Jimmy Butler, yes, maybe you do that when you're Philly and you're down, but a double at Jimmy Butler is not a double at Tyler Herro. And that's not saying anything about Tyler Herro in any type of way. That's saying how good Jimmy Butler is, that he's able to play make over the top, that he's able to now get shooters involved and spray out to the weak side. So, I just can't see a Boston team they're still going to be good defensively. Let's not act like just because they're losing Horford and Smart, they're going to be bad defensively. They're still going to be good defensively in that starting unit. Now, as much as we were joking around in our preview on 5 on the Floor and saying the thing is going to be Hunt, Peyton Pritchard, it's kind of coming alive, because he has to get decent minutes in this game. That Peyton Pritchard's the one way to look at it. And the other guy, Daniel Tice, as much as you're losing Horford's drop, Tice is going to be in that drop. And I think that's the outlet. Tyler Herro coming off the bench, Daniel Tice coming off the bench. He's going to be attacking Daniel Tice.
I saw a lot of credit this week, Greg, for Danny Ainge for some of the moves to put this team together. And I think there's to be some acknowledgement. Obviously, the Tatum move was a heist against Philadelphia, but it was a heist. But the one thing that Danny kind of missed on over the last few years was he had a ton of first-round picks that busted. And I feel like if more of those guys were good, I would be more afraid of this matchup tonight, even as with the Celtics losing guys. But Romeo Langford, I mean, they haven't gotten a ton of these guys. And again, Peyton Pritchard, if that's the answer, there's not a real good question there because I'm not sure that that's going to work. But we have seen, just to be fair, Greg, we have seen the Heat let down at times this season against teams that don't have all of their core players. You wouldn't think it would happen in the first game of the Eastern Conference Finals, but who knows?
Yeah, no, they definitely have to come out sharp, limit turnovers. Like the game plan is the game plan that way. Like I think that their side of the ball is pretty they know what they're going to get to. I like the way Jimmy answered that question from you at practice when he's just basically like, I don't give a damn. That's a dude who says none of them cats can check me. So let's see what happens. I want to make sure that I get out in front and document to everybody that I don't like Peyton Pritchard. I'm just going to make sure and get out in front of that. He annoys me this series. Everything he does annoys me. So as you watch him, may you be annoyed as well because I don't like him. They do have former Spur Derek White, and there's just something about a Spur that feels like it could be a thorn in the Heat side. So they need to make sure that they don't just leave him. But without Smart and Horford, it does change the game for them. I think at least defensively, they may drop less with Horford in the game, but losing Marcus Smart, that's the defensive player of the year, everybody. They got to get worse, right?
Well, and we don't know if he's back for game 2 either. I mean, that's the thing. It's not, there's no certainty on this one. I mean, he injured the foot at the end of that last game after hurting himself in 3,000 other ways. Tony, let's go to the Celtics then. So if it's not, I mean, look, obviously Tatum and Brown are going to get even more opportunities now, you would figure. But who's the third guy that joins them? Because as much as we mock Smart, he occasionally will give him 15. He'll occasionally give him 20 and kind of become that complimentary scorer.
Yeah, I mock Smart because he's annoying to watch. I don't mock him because he's not a good hooper. He's definitely he shot like 63s on 35% this playoff series. So he's been on line with some of that. And he's also the only guy that seems willing to make the extra pass on that team against the bent defense. So now we're talking about Miami going up and playing Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who they're going to have to stagger. They can't play them both for large periods at the same time because no one's going to get rested. So these guys are just going to be running isolation sets and hoping they can get Miami scrambling with their dribble or with an action to hit Tice in the corner. Is Tice they're going to be their third best shooter because they're just going to leave him open off the corner? I don't know what they're going to do offensively.
I would assume the Heat would not leave Grant Williams open 25 times, right, Ricky? I mean he's the guy who
Hooper,
kind of made
Grant Williams.
Yeah,
no, I know.
Yeah, the funny thing about that is this is a team from Boston we're talking about, right? Of course they're going to try to lean on the guy named White. But that's all I'm saying. He's the one who's not, Ricky. Well, that's what's going to freak a lot of people out when they look at the box score and look at who's wearing the jersey. They're going to be like, "What's going on with this guy here?" And then the rest is history. And then 3 games later, they'll be down 3-1, and they won't know what hit. That's my answer. That's all.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had something else to add to that. I don't even remember what the question was. You know what? We'll go to PrizePicks, PrizePicks.com, or use the app, whether it's the App Store or the Google Play Store. Download it for free. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E, to get your initial deposit match up to $100. They've still got the Jimmy Butler prop up there. You get like the taco of the day. Because it's a Tuesday, you get like 35% off his props, which basically means they're easier for him to clear. So if you were incentivized before to go over on Jimmy tonight, look at his props and go over on Jimmy tonight because they're easily attainable based on where they set them. But use the code 5, F-I-V-E, at prizepicks.com. All right, let's get to the picks here. And Alejandro's going to take everybody from here. These are our markbrownpa.com picks. Not the series, guys. We've kind of all, in some way, done the series, I think. Well, at least 3 of us have. And maybe if Ricky and Tony want to add it to theirs, they can. But, Tony, who wins game 1?
Yeah, this was a Heat victory before I found out these 2 guys were out. Just you know, the Celtics are they had just came off a rough series. They had to travel last night. Like, everything points in Miami's favor.
Brady?
Yeah, I think the Heat win this one. I will say we've talked a lot about the main guys. I think the guy to watch tonight is Strus. Like, this feels like a Max Strus game where he kind of goes off. And I'd mentioned before the guard screening, something they're going to get to. One of the most used guard screeners on the Heat is Max Strus, just slipping his screen and getting to the opposite wing. And that's kind of the way to beat switching, like slip screens. That's the way to beat a switch. And Max Strus is going to have some good looks tonight, at least from each wing. I think he comes out really well in the first quarter. I think they win.
Ricky?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough, competitive, still going to be a grinded out type of win. But I think the Miami Heat win tonight, and I've been waiting all day to say this. The road to the ring starts tonight. Okay, I don't know if y'all can see that because of the light. There it is. That's the last time we won a championship. Okay, 2013. The road to the ring starts tonight. Okay, Heat in 7.
Wow.
That doesn't look like it came out of a Cracker Jack box. By the way, my fingers are still hurting because I fist bumped Tony Fiorentino. You never fist bump Tony Fiorentino because he's got 3 of those.
Always keeps them with him.
He always keeps them with him. He's always going to go up there. Greg, do I even have to ask?
Well, you know I'm taking the Heat to win, but I also want to give all of our listeners a quick prize pick. I like Tyler Herro over 14.5 points. Like, let's get over this, that he's in a slump. Like, that was one series, new series tonight. Tyler Tuesday, take him over 14.5 on prize picks using the code 5. Heat win going away tonight, baby.
Look at how
Bam,
that number
2.5.
is.
Bam, 2.5 assists.
Oh, assists, yeah. Not 20 plus points, right?
No, 2.5 assists. I like that too without Kyle. Boy, Tyler's number was 20.5 at the end of the regular season. It's gone all the way to 14.5. That looks like the stock market over the last few, well, not today, but over the last few weeks. All right, I like the Heat tonight also. Same thing. I would have picked them probably regardless in this game, just because I think when you give Eric a couple days to look at a team and another team's coming in a little bit tired, it's always going to be an advantage here. I don't know if I'm ballsy enough to call the Tyler Herro game tonight. I tend to agree with Brady. I think it's Strus and Butler tonight, most likely, but I do think the Heat win. But I think it's going to look like a 103-92 type game. I don't feel like they're going to blow them out, but I think Boston's going to struggle to score at times in this game, more so than people think. All right, stay with Alejandro here, and also Pace and Space at halftime. Post up 5R after the game, 5 on the floor. I believe Sean Rochester's joining Greg tonight. Is that correct? And then also, obviously, as I mentioned, Post Up 5R, hosted by Royal Shepherd post-game. Have a good night, everybody.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us here for the pregame show. Let's go ahead and let's hit you guys with the 5 on the floor episode with the long preview of these Eastern Conference Finals. Don't go anywhere. I know you guys love the ESPN broadcast. Don't go there. Let's go back here. Remember, tonight's game is supposed to start at 8:30, but you know how it is, and it's probably going to start around 8:45. So let's go now and listen to this podcast as we get you through this long time until the game starts here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Starting now, Miami Heat versus Boston Celtics, the Eastern Conference Finals mega preview here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel.
Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. We're on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're also on Dash Radio on their Nothing But Net channel every single weeknight at 7 p.m. Also, check out 5 Reasons YouTube channel before Floor, an hour before every Heat game. Post Up 5R, hosted by Royal Shepherd. As soon as the Heat game ends, and plenty of content during the week, you want to make sure you hit the like and subscribe button because we cover everything in South Florida sports. And tomorrow, or Monday, if you're listening to this on Monday, today, we're going to have Norris Cole on Dono Daily. So make sure you check that out. Hit the subscribe button so you get all of the content. Also, 5reasonsports.com. The latest takeaways from Brady Hawk, always there, including a full Celtics Heat preview, which we're going to discuss tonight. And we do not have a paywall. And check out the great sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. And that includes our friends over at U-Break Wheel Fix. That's ubreakwheelfix.com. That's where you can find them. Or U-Break, that's with the letter U. U-Break Wheel Fix on Instagram. This is the big 3 of wheel services, the repair, the refinish, and the custom wheel specialist. They offer, again, that big three, over 20 years of experience. They repair the damaged wheels from curb rash, cracks, or bends, all under one roof with in-house powder coating, CNC machining, and polishing. And that roof, it's a little bit bigger now. They've moved. They got so much business. I like to think it's because of us, but they've got so much business that they actually had to move to a new location in North Miami. Also, it's now it's right off of Northeast 18th Avenue East and Northeast 143rd Street, if you're familiar with that area. It's across from the City of North Miami Public Works. But give them a call. You'll find them, 305-748-0112, 305-748-0112, or again, go to youbreakwheelfix.com. Mention 5 Reasons. You will get a discount. Reach out to Mark and all the good people there. Again, it's youbreakwheelfix on social media and youbreakwheelfix.com. And now, tonight's episode.
Down the bitch gang. Yay. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frauds. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, Ethan Skolnick back on 5 on the Floor. Here's tonight's floor plan. We had to get the whole crew together tonight because the Eastern Conference Finals is set. It is the same Eastern Conference Finals as we saw in 2020. There is no excuse from other NBA fans that this was played in a bubble. It was played with road crowds. The Boston Celtics beat the Milwaukee Bucks. No Chris Middleton, but still a significant achievement. They got the Game 7 at home, and I know how people feel about the Celtics, but I have respect for them in this regard. They didn't duck anybody. Unlike the Bucks, who spent the last week positioning to avoid the hapless Nets, which we told you all season the Nets were hapless, the Celtics played for the top seed that they could get, which was the 2nd seed. That gave them home court advantage in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Eastern Conference playoffs against Milwaukee, and that paid off today. So basically, the Celtics advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Heat. The Heat, of course, are the number 1 seed, so games 1 and 2 will be in FTX Arena on Tuesday and Thursday night. Alex, Brady, and myself will all be there for games 1 and 2. So the floor plan tonight, first, everybody should be reading Brady's article. We're going to play off of that a little bit. We're going to get into what key members of the Heat need to do in this series to win this series, and then we'll finish it off with a prediction. I'm going to be speaking to Mark Jones after practice on Monday. We're going to put that on the podcast feed. He's going to be covering the series for ESPN Radio. I know he's a favorite of a lot of you. He's been on the podcast before. And also, as I mentioned, Norris Cole is going to be on Dono Daily, and I believe Alex and I are going to join Alex Dono on that tomorrow at 3 o'clock or Monday at 3 o'clock. So plenty of content coming, but let's just start here, guys. This is the series, okay, that I don't know that Heat fans necessarily wanted because I feel like they wanted revenge against Milwaukee, but it is the appropriate series. Since Pat Riley took over in Miami and since Danny Ainge took over in Boston, of course, he's no longer there, these two teams have reached the most Eastern Conference Finals. The only team that's been up there with them has been Cleveland, and I don't even credit that to Cleveland. That's just LeBron. Miami has now made the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, this is now the 5th time in their history without LeBron. So this is, it's not all LeBron. And I think we've seen that too. And I think when you look at this, Greg, and I'll start with you here before we start to get into some of the players. I mean, there's just a great rivalry. I mean, it's taken a pause at times. But, we're going to talk to Norris. You have LeBron dunking on Jason Terry's head. You have LeBron in Game 6 up there. You have, Paul Pierce sucks chance. You have the Bam block of Tatum. You have Eric Spoelstra's, second playoff series against Boston, which didn't go so well. His first playoff series against Boston was 2nd overall because they lost to Atlanta the previous year, after which Dwayne Wade said, I need help. I was in that building, at TD Garden when he said that. And, of course, he got the help of LeBron James and Chris Bosh right after that. This is a significant rivalry, and I think it's going to be a great series.
This series will help the Eastern Conference and the NBA in general with matchups that have happened year over year and start to build some equity amongst themselves. Because you remember these two teams were in the conference finals in 2020. I think that also Miami's dynamic with Milwaukee and now Milwaukee's dynamic with Boston makes for an interesting mix in the Eastern Conference go forward. So I think that that is really good. And to your point, I think everyone was pointing at Milwaukee as who they kind of were aiming for, because we were all subconsciously thinking that was going to be the matchup. So inevitably, like, let's start to figure out how we feel about a matchup that we thought was coming. And it didn't. And I have to tell you, like, Boston, the way they lost game 5 on their home floor to Milwaukee and they rebounded, that's the kind of grit that gets you through to win championships. So this is going to absolutely be the biggest test that Miami has seen to date. I'm excited to talk about it because there's so many elements to this series that are so different than the last one. But I think this is the last thing, and then I'll let you tee it up for Alex and Brady to get into X's and O's, etc. This is the other thing. Remember that NBA futures article that came out recently, and they ranked them, and ESPN brings in a bunch of folks to talk, to like kind of compile the rankings. Miami was second, and I think everybody would kind of off the top of their head put Boston in that category of having the best futures when you have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So I think the other cool thing about this, Ethan, is that it has the potential to become something that goes on further than just this season. So I think that all of that just makes for an intriguing matchup.
Yeah, I think that what the Celtics showed, and I know Heat fans hate the Celtics. I think it's more about the fans than the players. They hate the Celtic fans.
Used to be both.
But I think this is a more likable team, right? Like, I mean, I know people sort of skewered me on Twitter for saying this, but I'm going to put Marcus Smart to the side because I hate everything about the way that he sells fouls and flops into space and all the rest of that. But Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, to me, are likable stars. And I think, I have a lot of respect for both of them. And they are going to be a problem for a long time because the issue was, could they play together or were they just taking turns? And something clicked. I mean, you got to give them credit. The last 40 games of the season, they were the best team in basketball, like by record. Okay. And that is significant. And we don't know how the Phoenix thing's going to play out because that's going on as we're podcasting. But they've sustained it in a way that Phoenix has had some difficulty sustaining, and Phoenix may get bounced tonight. We'll see. So we're going to pivot though to the matchups. We'll talk more narratives, I'm sure, with Mark and with Norris over the next couple of days. But I'm going to start here with Jimmy Butler, because this is the head of the snake for the Miami Heat. There's no question about this. The way he's performed in the playoffs so far, you can definitely argue that of everybody left, him and Tatum, I think are probably, and Luka, we'll see what happens tonight if they advance, have been kind of head and tails above everybody. Obviously, Giannis is out now, and his numbers are ridiculous, and he had a tremendous playoffs, even though it fell short. But it starts with Jimmy. And this is a series, and I'll let either of you guys, I'll let Alex and Brady jump in on this. This is a series that we have said could be tailor-made for Jimmy in a way that the Milwaukee series would not have been. Is that fair, Alex?
I don't know about that. I haven't really given much thought to it. What I did say today earlier on, there was a Heat Spaces that I was listening in on, was that I thought the Bucks matchup, specifically when healthy, but even without Middleton, I was looking at them like the tougher individual matchups for Bam and Jimmy because of what we saw last year with Giannis and Brook, also adding in Drew, adding in the possible Middleton appearance. But as far as the Celtics, I think they're the type of team that makes things harder on the Heat trying to run their actions. Now, the Heat are still going to, do those things. They're going to run a lot of the same actions that have gotten them here and stuff that they've done in other playoff runs. But I just think the Celtics, because of kind of having no defensive holes, being, I think, this year's version of what the Raptors were when they won the title, as far as like not having any defensive holes, they're the best defensive team left. So, even if I think Bam and Jimmy would, would have tougher individual matchups versus the Bucks, the Celtics are the best defense left for the Heat to play. So it's going to be a real test, like Leif was saying, and it feels like a lot of the talking heads are already leaning Celtics on this. It feels like people have been kind of leaning that way since the second half of the season, because for some reason the second half of the season just matters so much when it comes to evaluating playoffs. I don't know why. That's always a thing every year, is like judging a team, judging playoffs and predicting stuff based on who was the hottest team at the second half of the season. It's like, I've never thought that was a good indicator. But if these teams are extremely similar after doing a kind of a deep dive on their statistical profile, they are very similar. Like, I'm not going to get into it right now, but there's very few things where they differ at. So it's going to be an ugly series when you look at low scores every game, most likely. But it really feels like a coin toss at this point.
How does this work for Jimmy, Brady?
Yeah, I think I'm more on the stage of saying that Boston favored him a lot more than Milwaukee, just for the reason of the way Milwaukee blocks off the rim. I said before Game 7, I feel like Herro is more favored by Milwaukee and Jimmy's more favored by Boston. And even Herro hinted at that a little bit at practice today, where he was kind of like, one of the coverages I think fit me a little bit more. And that clearly is in Boston, but we'll get into that when we get there. Jimmy, I think he can get his points no matter what. Like, I think a lot of not to go crazy into the Milwaukee part, but I think a lot of that is getting kind of overwhelmed by the fact of what happened last year. Like, Jimmy can still operate and do his thing. He's a superstar in this league. But with Boston, it's just more of the feeling of being able to hunt switches. Okay, they don't have any holes defensively, but you can find a smaller guy on the floor like a Derek White and put him on your back and get in the low post. Like, that's the type of stuff that you can't really do against the Milwaukee, because as soon as you put a smaller guy on your back, you turn around, there's Brook Lopez, there's Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I think there's ways that he can operate other than the obvious of just kind of getting to the rim, the jumper, everything like that. I think one of the smaller schematic kind of switches is going to be for him to be used as a screener a lot more, something I talked about. It just feels obvious because of the way they switch. And I know everybody always says the best way to be a switch is a slip. It's a little bit harder without Kyle Lowry, because I was looking at the last time Miami played Boston. A lot of that was Lowry, Butler pick and rolls. And it was Lowry lobbing it over the top to Jimmy, and Jimmy was getting easy buckets down low. The question, I think, for me is, can Gabe Vincent make that pass consistently? Like, that's going to be a question, I think, in this series, unless they put the ball in somebody else's hands. I don't really know what that's going to be. But if Gabe Vincent can make that pass, it makes things like a whole lot easier, because I think that's where Jimmy's going to be used a ton, other than the obvious things. I think defensively, he's still, I know we'll get there and kind of talk about the defensive stuff anyway, but I think he'll probably be guarding Jaylen Brown a lot of the time. And as much as he's going to be used as a freelancer, he's going to have to guard straight up and fight through screens at a lot of this. So I think a lot of this is the obvious that we know we're going to get from Jimmy Butler, and you kind of know what you're going to get from Jason Tatum. Even if there's a little bit of inefficiency thrown in there, you know what you're getting from both of these guys. That's why I kind of feel like as more we go down this line of players for the Heat, I just feel like those are kind of the more important guys, because those are the guys that I feel like can flip back and forth.
And I just want to set the stage here with a little bit of context compared to the 2020 series. So there are 10 players between the two teams that played some role in that series. Okay. The Heat had some guys who were, like Gabe Vincent was with the Heat at that time, but didn't play a role in that series. So if you take a look at it, there are 4 guys on the Heat: Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Herro, and Duncan Robinson. And we will see what Duncan's role may be. On the Celtics side, it's Tatum, it's Brown, it's Smart, it's Tice, who left and came back, was reacquired, and the 2 Williamses, who played sort of reduced roles in that series. Tice played more of a role than either Williams. So you have 10 guys. We're going to talk a little about Kyle Lowry, because as we're sort of speaking of him as he's not going to play, and our information is that he will not play Game 1. That's not official yet. I'm going to be at practice on Monday. We may get more of an indication, but they're not going to rush him, and I don't think they need to. But there may be times in this series where if he was healthy, he would prove valuable, as I think Brady is talking about here. But just to put into context, these teams know each other fairly well from that series, because the core guys, I mean, the main guys are still there. Somebody who is not there, and I want to touch on this a little bit, because you mentioned there's really nobody to hunt on a switch. If my recollection is correct, Brady, 2 years ago, they hunted Kemba Walker. Because I mean, Kemba came in with a knee injury. He was largely ineffective on both ends, but particularly defensively. So before we move on to the Bam thing here, the absence of Kemba, the fact that they basically plugged Marcus Smart in as a full-time point guard, and they don't go very deep. We're going to get into that, but they're not small anywhere, right? I mean, that's the thing. So are without Kemba, are they huntable in any way?
I think they're huntable, like I said, in the fact that I don't think Jimmy needs a weak defender on him. I just think he needs a smaller defender. And it was always, we talked about length kind of bothering him. It was just more the fact that when he could play bully ball, it's just a lot different. And we could say that also for Miami as well, because we're talking about losing a weaker defender and putting in a better defender inside the lineup. We could say that for Kyle Lowry. We could say that for Gabe Vincent in comparison to Goran Dragic, who was obviously incredible in that run. But defensively, these two teams are pretty much aligned all the way through, even with the changes that have been made up to this point. But to your question, I do feel like there's still advantages there. I think, especially like I saw Greg, you said they played 7. If Peyton Pritchard is on the floor, Jimmy Butler needs the ball in his Jimmy Butler needs the ball in his hands. And I think a lot of this is we look at a lot of these matchups like 5-on-5s in reality, especially with this Heat team. There's going to be so many. They're going to, I think, restrict minutes a little bit now that we're in the Eastern Conference Finals. But there's still going to be depth being used that they're going to be able to have these times. And Peyton Pritchard just had a really big game. Are they going to shelve him after having a big game 7 heading into the Eastern Conference Finals? I'm not so sure about that. And I think that's kind of my thing. There's going to be advantages with smaller guys, but not to fully put this podcast on Peyton Pritchard slander, but like give Jimmy Butler the ball and set a screen, because get him on Jimmy Butler.
All right, we're going to talk about Bam in a second. One of the issues they have is without playing Peyton Pritchard, they don't have a lot of other wings and guards to go to. So, you know, we'll discuss that and kind of the minutes that are being played. It reminds me a little bit of the way that Doc used to use his Celtics players. Udoka is kind of using his guys that way. We will get into the coaching matchup in the last part of the podcast. Before we do, Brady's appearances here are sponsored by our friend Eric Rubenstein. He's a personal injury attorney. You can find him at Ask About Me, I Got You. That's right. Ask About Me, I Got You on Instagram. He describes himself as a stretch 4. That might be a bit of a stretch. I give him a little bit of a hard time for that. But you can reach out to Eric if you've got any kind of personal injury issues. That's car accident, slip and falls, medical malpractice, and more. He's a huge Miami Heat fan. Mostly he does a great job for his clients. Okay, graduated magna cum laude from St. Thomas University right down here in Miami. Grew up in a personal injury law family. He knows how to get you what you need. So give him a call at 954-829-ERIC. That's 954-829-ERIC. That's for Eric with a C at the end, not a K like Spoelstra. Or on Instagram at Ask About Me, I Got You, and help or let him help you get your money. All right, let's get to the next guy here. And it's a different conversation than we would have been having in the Milwaukee series, guys. We've been pointing towards the Bucks all year for Bam Adebayo. But, of course, Bam Adebayo had his signature moment of his career against the Boston Celtics, which was the block of Jason Tatum. Although there was almost another signature moment today because Brook Lopez somehow got Jason Tatum today. And I don't know how that happened because Brook has the slowest feet in the league, but somehow managed to block Tatum. But the Bam block was a little more spectacular. I think that coming out of this last series, they're just watching what he did defensively the last 3 games and a little bit of uptick in aggressiveness that I think Bam's gotten some of the fans off his back. But, you know, Daniel Tice plays now, but he doesn't play as much as consistently. I don't know that matchup is a wash. Remember that from 2 years ago. But Robert Williams plays more now. He's a much better player than he was before. And we saw with Grant Williams today that, I mean, if he shoots 23s, he's going to make some. So they have an interesting collection of bigs, Greg. I mean, it's not like it was a couple of years ago where, again, the Williamses were kind of raw and they were really playing mostly Tice.
Yeah, and I would expect Robert Williams, who actually didn't play tonight. I think he was available, but for some reason they didn't go to him. I would expect that he will get an elevated role in the next round. So to your point, that really gives them then 8.
And Horford.
And Horford, yeah.
Who's been rejuvenated, who I should have mentioned at the top.
Absolutely, which I think that'll be an interesting matchup, but Bam should also have an advantage there. I think that there's likely going to be – I'm interested to see the way that they manage Jimmy, Bam, and PJ on the defensive end and who defends who. And Brady and Alex probably already have that locked and loaded and ready to go. But I'm interested to see how that unfolds because there's just some interesting elements there of how they shut Boston down from getting to what they want to do. And the PJ Tucker factor, the more I watched that last series and the way that it ended, boy, am I happy that we got PJ Tucker going into the Eastern Conference Finals. I'll just say that.
Well, I think Boston was happy he wasn't playing on Milwaukee in this last series, and now they got to deal with him now. Alex, when you look at Bam, who's the big that he can most exploit of the four that they may play?
That's a good question. Definitely, Tice, that's the easiest one. And I think after that, it's probably Grant Williams if you're throwing him in there, just because of the size stuff. I think Tice is too slow. I have a lot of respect for what Horford and Rob Williams can do, and that's why I don't think he's going to have the same sort of series where he's standing out offensively, maybe as much as he did on Boston. And Brady already alluded to part of that as far as the pick and roll attack, where without Kyle, that pick and roll attack just, isn't as potent. And as much respect I have for Gabe and his kind of improved ball handling and improved, passing, I think Kyle is just a little bit more ahead when it comes to being an advanced passer, making advanced reads quicker. So Brady mentioned in his article that there's going to be times where Kyle's probably going to be in Gabe's ear about making the pass to Jimmy when Jimmy is used as a screener, the Celtics switch, and Jimmy is slipping. I think it's a similar thing as far as Kyle being in Gabe's ear, telling Gabe to, make sure to hit Bam on those lobs when he can, because when Horford is out there defending drop, because and Brady also pointed this out in his article, great article, by the way, like always, but they will see some drop in this matchup, maybe specifically when Horford and Tice are out there. Right. And those guys are going to play a lot of minutes. And, they switch a lot, but in those times where they're seeing drop, they got to take advantage. And I think, there's a lot of things about this matchup to go through, to dig through. But I think just looking at it from a perspective of Bam needing to be the guy who was again is a little bit simplistic, because this team is just a lot better defensively than I think they were, specifically down low. Right. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to be taken advantage of the same way they were in that series. So, Bam and Tyler specifically, I think, have a lot to prove this series, with or without Kyle.
I think that's fair. And we're going to get into Tyler next, because I'm with you on that. Brady, the Bam's compliment up front all year has been PJ Tucker, the ability to switch everything, the ability to have each other's back, to rebound, even though they go smaller than most front lines. This Boston front line goes bigger than most modern front lines, particularly when they're playing two of their guys together. Who, in your view, is PJ guarding from the start of the game? Is it Tatum?
Yeah, I think it's Jason Tatum. But the thing is this is a team where I think you can get away with soft switching in a lot of ways, or at least switching in general, because they do have two bigs on the front, but they just have a lot of lengthy wings, and they match up decently well that you can switch. But I think what we learned last round is that they're not going to be afraid to pull the card out to go to drop. Like, that's kind of where I think they are. And the idea there is, I think you want PJ Tucker on Jason Tatum for as long as possible. And the way you do that, yes, Bam's switching out into Tatum and it's a win, but it's also the same stuff we talked about all year with the back line changes. PJ Tucker fighting over screens on Jason Tatum is exactly what you want. And if you look back to the last time Miami played Boston, one of the things they did in that game, they didn't fully go drop in that game, but what they did was they made Bam kind of what they do with Giannis, where they make him the weak side defender, where they don't want him switching up. So they put him on that corner guy. So if Tatum makes a hard drive, if Brown makes a hard right drive, Bam's there and they're going to force the corner three. So there's different things they can do, but I do think PJ is going to be big in terms of just pressuring Tatum if he has the ball in his hands.
Greg, the Bam no ceiling thing, which we gave life to here and the Heat have followed up on, has put these expectations on him to kind of emerge as a dominant force offensively in every series. But there are just some series that are just not fit for that, right? Like, just the way that the other team plays and that the Heat play. Like, what is a reasonable expectation for? We know what we're going to get from Bam on defense. I don't want to take it for granted, but he's the best defender in the league. He's going to show it again this series. When does Bam flop, by the way? Like the crap that Marcus Smart does on a night in, night up. Never. Does he ever flop? Have we ever seen Bam flop?
I don't think I've ever seen him flop, not even once, which is crazy to think about, because I think every player, you feel like you've seen him do it once. And you're right about Bam and the expectations. And I still like with the no ceiling stuff. I know people say, oh, well, now he has the ceiling, which think about if everybody went around in everybody's lives and said at whatever age Bam is right now, that was their ceiling. If that was the cap and you had no upside from there, how each of us would feel. So that's BS. Anyway, let me get up off my soapbox. To me, this series is about him at times having to take the defensive assignment of one of those two, of Tatum or of Jaylen Brown. I think they're going to need to find ways to get Jimmy off of those guys. And I'm sure we'll figure out like how they can do that creatively. But to me, I'm not looking for him to have to average 25 and 15 or anything like that. If this team gets to the NBA finals, the ceilings that we're shooting for Bam Adebayo are right in line with where we're going. Like, I mean, what are we doing? Are we really picking him apart? I can't do that.
All right, we're going to get into somebody else here who I think most of us are in agreement needs to take a step in this series. Before we do, I want to tell you about the official fantasy sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and that is prizepicks.com. You can download the app. It's easy. It's on the Google Play Store. It's on the iTunes, on the App Store. Download it for free. Use the code 5 FIVE, get your initial deposit matched up to $100, and you don't need to use it all at once. It's free money, guys. Like, everybody's like, is this a real deal? It's a real deal. They give you the money. You can play the money when you want. The flex play, you can go like sort of a little bit in. I should have done that more recently instead of trying to do these 4-play picks, okay, and try to nail them all on a power play. But you can go with a power play as well, either way. And of course, you can also bet the NHL, MLB, any of the other sports, MMA. If the NHL is stupid enough to put the Panthers games on the same nights as the Heat games this week, God help us all. You can put Panther players and Heat players together if you want. Okay, so go to prizepicks.com or just download the app, use the code 5 FIVE, and get your initial deposit matched up to $100. All right. I think with Bam, I think we all sort of acknowledge what he's going to provide on the defensive end, and the offense, when it comes, it comes. You want it to be aggressive when he can be. To me, it's not optional with Tyler Herro in this series. Like, this has to be the series. And look, the sneer moment and everything else, I mean, against Boston 2 years ago, that was in a lot of ways his breakout from a national perspective. And it has to come now. It just does. I mean, the first 2 rounds, you got by with him in a lot of ways in the second series, kind of being a decoy. The way that Philadelphia guarded him, you got to give him credit for that they had that much respect for his game and his development, that they guarded him the way that they did. But Jimmy needs help if he's going to win this series. As you mentioned, Greg, these games are probably going to be in the 90s, I think. I mean, I would bet the unders, okay? I mean, you go to betteredge.com. I'm going to tell you more about that later. I would bet the unders in this series unless they put them so low. I mean, this is going to be a grinded out type situation with these teams. They both defend. They both have attention to detail. They're both really well coached. We're going to give Udoka some flowers here at the end. Tyler has to be the release valve for this team. So it's not all on Jimmy. And he's got to find his spots, and he's got to find them sooner. And I think to a certain degree, and I'll start with you here, Brady, on this one. I think to a certain degree, Eric has to prioritize him in the sense of, creating those opportunities for him. So maybe it means playing him with different guys. The Oladipo connection with him has been a little shaky at times, in terms of them figuring it out. How do they free him? Because I feel like if they free him a little bit, his confidence will come and he'll have a good series, and they need a good series from him.
Yeah, I think now that they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, Tyler Herro can't be a decoy. Like, they can get by to getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, but now that they're here, he has to be utilized in a way where they have to free him up. I think the first thing is, he gets enough attention where he can get doubled and he can get blitzed. First of all, if Boston begins to do that, they're much better collective, team-oriented defense that they can recover very quickly. So even if Tyler makes the pass at a quicker speed, they're probably going to recover, and you're resetting your offense. I think the first step there is the one way to not get doubled or blitzed is you don't come set the screen. Like, that's something we talked about for so long with Tyler Herro is, can he create offense without a screen coming up? Can he take it in isolation? Can he do those type of things? Not to bring up Peyton Pritchard again, but looking in that last game that they played him, he was able to get by Peyton Pritchard a few times. He was able to get to his spots. He was able to do it against Grant Williams, where Grant Williams is a guy, yeah, he's a bigger wing, but if you just get him on his heels a little bit, then Tyler gets into his step back that he did a bunch against Boston in that game. There's openings there. Like, I'm just curious if they open that up a little bit more to just see what he can do, even against a better defense, just without a screen in general. But then there's the element that Alex was touching on before where, yes, I know everybody keeps saying this isn't, I've even talked about this isn't Milwaukee's a much better matchup for Tyler because of the drop coverage fully throughout the game. But there's drop coverage in Boston. Like, yeah, they're going to switch guard screens. They're going to switch a lot of that. But if you bring Bam up and Al Horford's on him, you're going to have a drop coverage possession. You can flow into it. You can get a 2-on-1. You can get to your mid-range. So there's openings there as well. So I think that's kind of where it starts. And I think the last thing is something we talked about a little bit at the end of last series when we were talking about him getting blitzed, is it's not as much of him seeing two people in the action. It's more about that third guy who comes and hedges over from the corner. Like, that's what throws it off because he has no room to operate. Like, he can't go and try to beat the guy who's blitzing him, because if he beats him, there's that third defender hedging. What they kind of started getting into a little bit more was they'd go empty corner, and then it's Tyler, okay, I can get to my baseline floater if I get by this one defender. Then that bends the entire defense. So I think if there's one thing I'll say that they can kind of get Tyler away from being a decoy and opening things up, is they're going to prioritize him in a way to say, you have to be a primary scorer here. You're going to have to be putting these actions. And once he starts doing that, you said the word release valve. He's the release valve getting everybody else going, because once that attention starts and not saying, okay, this guy, we just want to get the ball out of his hands and it's okay, we have to stop him as a scorer, then that opens things up for Jimmy. That opens things up for Bam on the roll. So it just feels like Herro is kind of the element here, I guess, as an offensive threat.
Alex, we anticipate Jimmy's going to be their leading scorer, right? I mean,
no doubt.
Okay. Is Tyler going to be second in this series, or is it somebody else?
You hit me with some good questions, man.
Yes, he is.
Right now, okay. I like Leif coming in way stronger than me. If I had to guess right now, I would say Bam. I mean, maybe that's wrong, but that's just my first instinct. I don't know. A lot of the stuff here with Tyler, though, I will say something I kind of didn't know until I was digging deep on what the Celtics like to do on defense and offense. One of the things I noticed is that they give up some of the most mid-range shots in the league. So the thing is that they're really good defending against it. So they're elite when it comes to giving up low percentage from mid-range, but they give up a lot. So similar to what the Heat do defensively, where they give up the most threes, but are really good at guarding it. That's kind of the Celtics in the mid-range. And they allowed an even higher percentage of mid-range shots against the Bucks. And to me, the thing that they were really, really good at during the regular season was guarding against the rim. And that kind of softened up versus the Bucks. Maybe it's just a Giannis thing because he's that good. But I think, the Heat might be able to get some stuff there when it comes to just being very strong and forceful with switches, whether it's, like I said before, Jimmy coming off as a screener, or Tyler, when it comes to getting somebody switched on to him, just kind of making the move quickly, always making the ball move if that's what's going to be the choice there. So between that and specifically the stuff where the Celtics just give up a lot of mid-range looks, those are the types of things where I think Tyler can thrive in. And even though, like I said, they're really good at defending it efficiency-wise, he will be able to get some of those looks. And a lot of it will probably come, like Brady was talking about, in some of those drops with some of those bigs, but he needs to be hitting those. Like, if they're not going to, I don't expect them to send a second man like the Sixers did, because the Celtics are very good, I think, at staying home on their shooters, not giving up. Also, the corner threes, they don't like to give those up. So Tyler is going to have to really take advantage of the matchups that are in front of him. And I think this is going to be a big, big series for him, because like you mentioned before, Ethan, if he's not giving you that offensive contribution and there's not a second man, then there's no impact, right? Like, because he's not this Lowry level playmaker. And if the offensive scoring threat isn't there, the playmaking reads are probably not going to be there because of how good the Celtics are at sticking home on shooters. So he needs to step up as a scorer and whatever opportunities are given to him in this series.
Greg, that's a pivot here, because as we go from the strategy, we go to the future. And, to look at where this team is going. And I still feel like to stamp himself, even with the season that he had and the fact that we think he's going to be a starter next season and everything else. And he's earned every bit of the applause that he's gotten this season for kind of the bounce back, if you want to call it that. I just call it continued progression after he kind of stalled a little last year. I don't think he went backwards. I think he stalled a little last year. That's it. But he has to have moments in this playoffs, right? I would say the playoffs tell he seems built for this. Like he wanted the road crowds. He has always he hasn't shied away from big moments, big shots. There's one sequence with Bam on the pick and roll in one game that we can look at in the Philadelphia series. Other than that, there hasn't been. There's more, and I'm sure we're going to talk about. There's more Strus moments in the playoffs. You could argue there's been almost as many Vincent moments in the playoffs, and that's great for them. And there's been, to be honest, as many Oladipo moments in the playoffs.
I know.
We need to see it, right? Or not we. He don't care about us. I think Pat needs to see it ultimately. If you're going to commit these kind of resources like this, it's now, right?
Yeah, I mean, a max extension, you can't come off an underwhelming playoff run. It's interesting, though, because there's a couple things. One, let's not all forget that Tyler Herro made Marcus Smart look foolish back in the 2020 Eastern Conference Finals at times. Anyway, I digress. The other part of it is this. It's interesting to see how they manage it if the Heat continue to win. Like if they get through this series and Tyler doesn't have a big series, like what the hell is happening then? And I think that kind of we're all operating under the assumption that there's no way that they can make this run unless Tyler has a signature moment or has a good series or eventually has that moment or moments where he is putting his imprint and you remember it. So maybe that'll be the case, but I think that there's another thing that I'm watching in this series, and that's the 3-point shooting. When is the water going to rise to the normal level, regress to the mean in a good way, however you want to phrase it? If that happens, the Heat may find themselves with a little bit more breathing room. Maybe it won't, but I just don't expect them to, for like a month, shoot in the sub 20s. So at some point here, I feel like that's going to change, and that could help Tyler in terms of having to feel like the pressure is on him to come up with this gigantic series to make up for a bad Philly matchup, for instance.
Yeah, and I don't think he's played horribly. So I mean, although the on-off numbers would suggest he has. So, like, I don't think he's been. We've seen train wrecks for the Heat in the playoffs. He hasn't been a train wreck. He just hasn't followed up on the regular season. I mean, look, we talk about Prize Picks all the time. I mean, they've been putting his number at 14.5 or 15.5 in points. This is a guy who averaged 21 in the regular season. So it's not just Heat fans paying attention to this. The projection for what to expect from him has come down. Okay. And and that's kind of where we're at right now. And so, he's got to make that projection go back up, not for Prize Picks, but for his bank account, I think ultimately, and for his future in Miami. All right. We got one more segment we're going to get to here. And what I want it to be is this. All right. Who is the X factor? So we've talked about Tyler. We've talked about Bam. We've talked about Jimmy. Could be anybody. Okay. It could be on the coaching staff. It could be a player. Everybody come up with one. Do the X factors, then quickly we'll get to our predictions before we close. Before we do, I want to talk about a new sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and it's called Better Edge. There's an O in it, BETTOR Edge, EDGE. You can check it out. Just go to the website. Okay, go to the website, it's a web-based app. And essentially what this is, it's different from Prize Picks. Okay, so what this is this is a social betting platform. Okay, so it's peer-to-peer betting. So unlike some of the offshores, this is legal. Okay, and it's a great way to kind of gamble with your friends, basically. And the other thing you can do is you don't have to go with the line as it exists. Like we talk about, the Heat, maybe I think they're opening as 1-point favorites at home in game one. We'll see if that holds. But if you like the Heat -7, you can find somebody on the other side of that on the app to bet it and go about it that way. You'll get better odds on that, obviously, if you like the Heat by 7 instead of by 1. So check it out, but use this link though, right? Because you'll get $20 free. Better Edge, that's BETTOREDGE.com/ number 5 reasons. Okay. So 5 reasons, but not spelled out this time, just the number 5 reasons. So betteredge.com/5 reasons, and you get $20 to just check it out. We're going to run some contests on there, do all kinds of cool things. And like I said, this is different. This is a gambling app. It's not a fantasy app. So check it out. It's not even an app. It's a web-based app, but it's more of a social experience than what you'll find on other gambling products. So check it out. betteredge.com/5 reasons. Get your $20 and give it a shot here during this Eastern Conference Finals. All right, let's get to X factors. You can only have one, okay? So don't take somebody else's. Alex, go first. I'm letting you go first, so you don't say I'm putting you on the spot at the last minute and everybody's taking yours.
No, you're putting me on the spot because now I have to choose from a big pool of good answers because the Heat are just so damn deep. And like Brady said, they're probably going to have to cut some minutes, or I'm expecting them to, because it's the conference finals. And I think the Celtics are a team where you're going to have a low margin for error, specifically without Kyle. That being said, I think the biggest X factor is Victor Oladipo. And I know it's kind of just been the theme throughout the season, but we've seen it come to fruition at this point. Victor Oladipo has looked like a pretty high-level role player for them. And I think in a series where you're going to need to generate a lot of rim pressure, like I was kind of talking about earlier, just being forceful, trying to get to the rim, he is one of those guys who can get downhill for you pretty consistently, even though you're going to be going up against great defenders, of course. He's not somebody who's going to post up small guys like Jimmy, and maybe the downhill stuff won't look as good against those guys, great bigs. So that's why I think it could kind of go either way with him. If he looks really good, I think that's huge for the Heat. I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of struggled a little bit this series because, like I said, it's going to be a little bit tough. But they need somebody who is willing and able to get to the rim consistently, and they're going to need him to do that. So, the Celtics are awesome defending against the rim and give up some of the least rim attempts in the league. So Oladipo is going to be a huge part of that and needs to generate rim pressure to kind of bend the Celtics defense.
Brady?
Yeah, we'll say that Victor Oladipo would probably be my first option as well. As aside from the rim pressure, I just want to add on and say that I think the other reason to that is with Boston switching. We talk about Tyler maybe trying to get in some isolation possessions. We've seen Victor Oladipo's bag in isolations and the combos and the crossovers and kind of creating. If he can get into that shot creation off these switches, that kind of changes and flattens out Boston's defense in a lot of ways of what they try to
do against bigs, though, to be honest.
I think he could do it against a couple of different positions. But I will say the guy I think that could be the X factor here, and I think it kind of cancels out what we're saying about cutting back minutes and maybe restricting some of their depth. But I think it's Caleb Martin. I think he could get some valuable minutes in this series. I think he fits well with the defensive stuff of just matching up with lengthier wings. I think he can get time on a guy like Jaylen Brown. I don't know why, for some reason, he's the guy. I could just really see him trailing all series and kind of just bothering because we know, yes, Miami likes to cut off the head of the snake. But when you cut off that second guy like Jaylen Brown and Jaylen Brown starts to struggle and all of a sudden Tatum's looking for that second guy and Marcus Smart is that guy, Miami could be in a decent spot. So I'm just looking at I think that he's going to be pressuring a lot defensively, but it's going to come down to kind of him hitting that corner three. And it sounds simple, but if they're able to pull off of him, kind of like Milwaukee was doing to Grant Williams in this game, where they were just kind of leaving him open in the corner. If Caleb Martin doesn't make them respect that corner three enough, then it'll be problematic and they probably can't put him on the floor for long periods of time. But I think he can hit it enough for them to respect it and just to build some type of thing defensively. Because we can look at kind of what they want to do shooting wise against the Celtics defense, but I just can't see them going a Duncan Robinson route if they're going depth, because I just don't know if they could put a one-way offensive player out there at this stage. I think they're going to go total defense and just battle it out in a total defensive series in a lot of ways. That I just kind of see Caleb Martin. He could be an X factor in terms of defensively. You mentioned maybe freeing up Jimmy onto different matchups. That's also a way to do it.
Greg?
Am I allowed to pick Jimmy? That's such an easy one, right?
No,
that
you're not allowed to pick Jimmy. That was one of the three we discussed.
All right. Sorry, I'm not paying attention.
This is like Wheel of Fortune when like a letter has been used.
No, it's all good. No, I really wasn't going to pick Jimmy. I was making a joke. This is the dude, y'all. Come on now. This is a Max Strus series. That is the X factor. He can build on what he did in the second round. The Celtics had him. There's pictures of him in a Celtics jersey, so he can make them pay on the Celtics home floor. And I also love the idea of the national media scrambling to try to figure out how they're going to talk about Max Strus when they don't know anything about what he's done all season. His name is Max Strus, and somehow he's dominating Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown on switches. So like that sounds like a lot of fun to me. The X factor is Max Strus. And this is the other thing I'm sneaking in here just because, if I've already snuck in this many, it's having game 1, game 5, and game 7 in Miami. Thank you, home court.
Well, that will matter. Brady, who does Max guard?
That's a question that I've been kind of looking at because I think because in terms of what the 5 that are out there today, he guards Grant Williams. But the question becomes, if Robert Williams is playing for Grant Williams, are you comfortable enough putting him on a big? I'm not so sure about that. Maybe they go the Marcus Smart kind of matchup. I could see that more often than.
But then who does Gabe guard?
Then he would probably have to size up and go to Jaylen Brown. That's kind of where the issue becomes because
Jimmy guards one of the big because I have Jimmy starting on Jaylen Brown. That's typically what they've done, right?
That's where I have Jimmy Butler on Brown and PJ on Tatum, but that's where it gets a little weird. It's possible. Like, I don't think it's crazy because they're going to double off anyway. Like, yes, it's not Embiid level double off, but they're going to double anyway if there's a smaller guy on you. But that's why I think the element of this, there's not going to be a one-on-one matchup at any point in this series. Like, they're all going to guard everybody just because they're switching. But it is interesting because I feel like Strus is the one guy as good, and he's been good defensively. Like, this isn't saying that he's a weak defender, and that's why. It's just the way these two teams match up. It's just a little different with the way they play two bigs.
Well, I'm going to go. There's 2 ways I was going to go here. Max was one of the guys I was considering. And the other guy was going to be Gabe because I think we're taking it a little bit for granted right now because he has performed at a pretty good level, but he's in the Eastern Conference Finals now. And this was supposed to be Kyle Lowry's time. We saw 2 years ago what Kyle did to Boston. He's not the same player anymore, but I mean, he was incredibly impactful and sort of kept Toronto afloat in that entire series. And we don't know when we're going to see Kyle, or if we're going to see him 100% at any point in the series. I was going to go with Gabe, but to me, it comes back to this. It's Eric. And it's Eric in this sense. I have a high regard for what Ime Udoka did this season. I thought he should have been a head coach 5 years ago. You're talking about somebody from the Popovich tree. Those guys have typically, when they've been given decent rosters, they've had success. And I think the way that he reconfigured this team without a true point guard, playing to their strengths, playing to the wings, playing to the defense, integrating the bigs, I think he's really good. But he hasn't been in an Eastern Conference Finals as a head coach. Eric Spoelstra has done this now. We're talking about 4 times in the Big 3 era, twice since. And, he knows how to manipulate matchups at this point. I felt we've talked about it. I feel like Eric we talk about peak LeBron being 2013. I feel like this is peak Spoelstra. I think we're seeing it right now in terms of his understanding of this roster, where he needs to get to. And I think that's probably good for a game in this series. I do. We talk about the home court, but I think Eric's ability, to kind of, go deeper into his bench, understanding what his players can and can't do. It's just going to be a different experience for Udoka. The media pressure is different in this series. Like you say, there's going to be a lot of people paying attention to the Heat that haven't all year. Eric's comfortable with that. A lot of people are going to be paying attention to Udoka in a way that maybe they weren't all year because maybe they were more fixated on the Nets and the Bucks and the Lakers and the Knicks of all teams. This is going to be a different experience for him. I think having Spoelstra in that seat in this series matters. And I think that may be worth a game. And so I'll start here with my picks and we'll go around here real quick. Again, our sponsors, UBreakWheelFix.com, Eric Rubenstein, 954-829-ERIC. If you need a personal injury attorney, prizepicks.com, fantasy, use the code 5, Better Edge, BETTOR, edge.com/5 reasons for $20 to get started on social gambling. I like the Heat in 7. It's been 5, it's been 6, it's been 7. I do not think this is going to be an easy series for them. I don't. This is a very, very good team that they're playing that knows what it's, like I said, knows what its strengths are, can get to its strengths. I think they're a tough-minded group. They showed this in the last round, but to me, Spoelstra and home court tipped this thing for me. And I think in a game 7, I don't see the Heat losing on their home floor in a Game 7 situation. I just don't. And I also think one of the things that you threw out there, Greg, how shallow Boston sometimes goes on its bench. I do think they're coming out of a 7-game series against Milwaukee. Okay. The Nets series was quick, but it was a high pressure series, right? It was anticipated. Okay. If they go 7 with Miami, I will give Miami the edge in a game, particularly if Lowry is okay by then. I will give Lowry and the Heat in general and Jimmy Butler and that group and Eric Spoelstra on their home floor the edge in a Game 7. But this series, the Heat are going to sweat in this series for sure. But I like them in 7. Greg?
Heat in 6. No further comment because not 7. Come on, y'all. They're going to close them out in Boston and shut all those Boston fans up. I mean, that's poetic beauty. Like, that's what we have to aim for.
Alex?
I mean, it would be awesome if we got the same result as Heat Sixers, by the way, because I haven't spoken since then. But, you know, kind of getting the win on the other franchise's home floor back-to-back like that against the Sixers and the Celtics specifically would be pretty awesome. But I'm leaning Heat in 7. Like, I maybe I'm lacking some guts here, but I do think it's going to be a really tough series. And again, just like Ethan said, I would give the Heat the edge in Game 7 for having that home court advantage. I can't see the Celtics taking that game. I just can't with or without Lowry. And I have some expectations that Lowry will come back at some point in this series, but maybe that's what's kind of keeping me a little bit more optimistic here. But the one thing that I haven't mentioned as far as what I was looking at, and Leif talked about this earlier, the 3-point shooting, right? The Heat in the regular season were the best 3-point shooting team in the league, 38%. In the playoffs, they're at 32. The Celtics in the regular season were at just under 36%. It was about 35.5. And in the playoffs, they're at 38. So, they're shooting a lot. They're shooting considerably better than they were in the regular season, whereas the Heat are shooting way worse than they were during the regular season. So,
and we are here. Welcome to the 5 Reasons Hangout. I know you guys are ready to watch the game. We're about to start here. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Welcome to all of you that are here. Benjamin de Souza, you do have a sort of Brazilian Portuguese name, but you are from Denmark. Welcome here to the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Hopefully you can subscribe and give it a thumbs up, give it a like, keep leaving your comments here. We're going to hang out. We're going to leave the score here so you guys can comment on what's going on during the game here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Thank you, Benjamin, for joining us. And thank you to everybody. Jose, as usual. Welcome, Jose. Michael. Let me see who else is around here. Alejandro, Tocayo. How you doing? Let me see who else is around here. Ron Baker. Thank you, man, for being back here again. Christopher, Raven, all of you, Kaz, OD, Alexis. Thank you for all your comments and for being here sharing with us. All right. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to have the score going on as we prepared. ESPN is starting later as usual. And here's the starting 5 for the Boston Celtics. Robert Williams III, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Derek White, and Grant Williams. That's going to be the starting 5 for the Boston Celtics. Trying to get 1 here in Miami to start the series. For the Heat, Gabe Vincent, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Max Strus, and PJ Tucker. Gabe Vincent, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Max Strus, and PJ Tucker. That's the starting 5 for the Miami Heat. Again, the game is about to start, and we are about to get going here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel, enjoying the first game of the Eastern Conference Finals. Same fun stuff that we did during the first and second round, just hanging out. You guys are going to have the score here. If you have any comments, leave them in here, and we can be talking about it as we go. We're going to try to call some of the plays, and we'll see. Maybe something good happens tonight as it's been happening. It's a whiteout night here in Miami, full arena tonight. Do you see? The later the game starts, the better for the Miami Heat fans who are all there in FTX Arena on time, things that they don't generally do during the regular season. They're always a little bit late, just a little bit late to the game. All right. Nat Nail, how you doing? Who's going to win? Good luck, sir. Good luck. Good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck for everybody. Here we go. We're going to start. I'm a little behind the score. My game is just starting right now. So bear with me. All right. And here we go. Remember, no Marcus Smart tonight, no Al Horford, no Kyle Lowry. None of them are available to be in this game tonight. All right. Not now. We are a Miami Heat network. We are a South Florida based network. All right. Jason Tatum with the first play. Back to Williams. Williams for three. First open three of the series, and he makes it. So that's how we started. The same way he finished the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Bucks, just hitting threes. Grant Williams. Ball for Max Strus. Max Strus back to PJ Tucker floater. He missed it. In the regular season, PJ Tucker was so effective with that floater. Lately, it hasn't been. Jaylen Brown. He has Max Strus on him. Back to Jason Tatum. He attacks Gabe Vincent and finishes. So it's 5-0 to start this game for the Celtics. Bam Adebayo now with the ball. Back to Max Strus. Back to Adebayo. Adebayo. He finds PJ Tucker. Jimmy Butler to his right. Shoots. Misses. 5-0. And sorry, I was looking at the comments. So it's Robert Williams III with a good rebound there after Jason Tatum missed basket. And that's going to be a foul on Strus, I think. Waiting for it. So a couple of baskets early to start the game. And Grant Williams in the free throw line now. Look at these comments. What's more intimidating, a B-ball on fire or a leprechaun? Let's go Heat. Seriously, a ball on fire and scared. Can you show us the game? No, I can't. That's illegal. We would get blocked. All right, 7-0 now. The Miami Heat with the ball. First couple of minutes. First round of the series now for the Celtics. Gabe Vincent attacking, getting blocked by Robert Williams III. So the Heat missing their first three shots. Ooh, there was a foul there, and good luck. There was a foul call because then Jaylen Brown dunked it. And here we go. So it's a tight one. Jason Tatum to Jones. Jaylen Brown. Bam Adebayo on Jaylen Brown. It's 1-on-1. Adebayo. He can go past it. Now he does. And misses the easy layup. He did the hard part, which was going past Bam Adebayo with a great move. Vincent for three from the corner. He misses. Rebound for Butler. He gets it. Misses. Backed for Butler. He finds Max Strus for three. That looked like a foul right there. And that was three. That was a 3-point foul by Jason Tatum. No call. And then it's going to be a jump ball. Grant Williams III. Max Strus complaining about the call. I saw it from here. I feel like he hit the right hand of Strus. And here we go. So jump ball, and it's Miami Heat ball. And here we go. So it's 7-0 now. And Miami Heat struggling to get the first basket of the game. The first let's go Heat chance coming in. And here we go. Jimmy Butler with the ball. To PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker in the top of the room. Top of the thing. Max Strus getting blocked from behind. Great defensive play. And now Vincent with the great defensive play on the other end. Hustle play by Gabe Vincent. He saves Max Strus and the Heat. Max Strus got blocked from behind in this one. This one was clean. The other one from Tatum was a foul. And it's Celtics ball. 7-0 here. 2 minutes and a half. Still no score for the Heat. Jason Tatum attacking the rim, trying to go past PJ Tucker. Bad shot there. Now Bam Adebayo should have gone for it. He stops. Now he goes to his right, spins, moves, and that's the first 2 points for the Miami Heat. We need Bam aggressive. So almost 3 minutes for the Miami Heat to score their first 2 points of the series. And now we get going. 7-2. And a turnover for the Celtics. A high pass from Williams the third to Williams. Williams missed it. Great play by Bam there, using his pivot foot right there. PJ Tucker, another floater, and now he makes it. He missed the first one, the early one. The first shot that he took, should have made that one. Now he makes this one. It's 7-4. So just like that, it's a 3-point game. Jaylen Brown gets Vincent back for 3, and he makes it. Remember, in the last series, the Sixers struggled from 3 here in Miami, as the Heat did in Philadelphia. So it was always the home team having a good night from 3 tonight. The first couple of minutes, it's been the Celtics hitting threes. Derek White now making Strus struggle a little bit here early. And this is one of the questions. Who's going to be in the rotation? Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson. Besides Oladipo and Herro coming off the bench. Missed 3 from Williams. And now it's Heat ball. Gabe Vincent. Gabe Vincent to his right. Gabe Vincent tried to find Bam Adebayo. That's a missed pass. And now Bamo is slow to come back. And that's an easy 2-point in transition for the Celtics. Not a good start for the Miami Heat. Here we go. Down 4. That's a game. 2 turnovers for the Heat. 1 for the Celtics to start this game. Jimmy Butler attacking the rim. Gets past Robert Williams III and dunks it. A little push. No call. And it's 12-6. All right. Jason Tatum attacking the rim again. And now Max Strus getting the foul call. And that's the difference between being a superstar and just a regular play here in the NBA. Max Strus gets called for the foul. Jason Tatum didn't get called when he hit that, or when he shot that 3. And that can turn into a 3-point play right there. So it's 14-6. And Tatum misses. So 14-6 now. After 5 minutes in the first quarter. Tucker now. Great play by Jason Tatum. And that's a foul on PJ Tucker. Right now, the Celtics defense is really making the Heat struggle. As a great play by Tucker. Too bad that he fouled Tatum, because that ball was going out anyway. So Tatum getting all types of calls here. It's all right. We're used to it. It happened with James Harden at some point. It happened with Joel Embiid at some other point as well. So, and it happened with Trae Young. So it's going to happen with superstars here in the NBA. All right, let's read some of you guys' comments about these first minutes. Ronald Fonte says, let's go Heat. Shake off the rust. Celtics in 4. Our friend Kieran Harris. Jose Matos, too much rest. It's about time. Relax. What's going on? Who's going to win? Can you show us the game? No. It's not going to be a shout-out. Phew. Miami better wake up and start playing. A couple of you guys' messages here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. It's been a rough start for the Miami Heat. Not a good start for the Heat. Let me get the actual box score here in a second. All right, here we go. This is the stats here in the first quarter. And it is for the Celtics right now. 6 points for Jason Tatum, 3 for Grant Williams, 3 for Jaylen Brown. Both of them have made the first 2 threes of the series. The Celtics are 2 for 3 right now from downtown. 2 points for Robin Williams III. For the Miami Heat is 2 points for Butler, 2 for Tucker, 2 for Bam Adebayo, all of them in the paint. For 3, the Miami Heat is 0 for 3 right now from the 3-point line. So that's what's going on so far. Let's read some of you guys' comments here as we go. We get ready for the rest of the first quarter. Remember here, the idea is so you guys comment on what's going on. All right, let's see. What is this start? Wake up in the third. Strus better step up. Yeah, they're attacking Strus a lot. So for all of you that talked about Duncan being picked on, it's happening now on Strus. And ESPN is having a field trip with the Celtics here in Miami. All right. Ronald Fonte says, Bam and Gabe need to take those shots by the free throw. They're both looking to pass instead of score. Let's get the energy up. Yeah, I agree. They need to be more aggressive. And that's an easy shot for both of them. So let's attack those. All right. Game's back. So we are back to it. It's Celtics ball. Jason Tatum, step back, 3. He misses. Rebound for Tyler Herro. Tyler Herro's in. So it's Herro, Tucker, Butler, Adebayo, and Vincent. So Herro for Strus. Herro for 3. He makes it. Tyler Herro, the first 3 for the Miami Heat here in the game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So Miami now 1 for 4. Derek White with the ball. Jaylen Brown now with Jimmy Butler on him. Pushes, turns, nothing. Double team. Derek White attacking Tyler Herro. Great defense by Herro. Bad luck there in the rebound. The ball falls in Robert Williams III's hands. We're going to have to talk. I'm going to call him W3 because that's faster. Robert Williams III is going to take me too long. All right. So the Heat started 0 for 7 from the field. And now they're 4 by 4. They made their last 4 field goals. And that was bad luck. Bam Adebayo and Tyler Herro going for the same rebound. The push, that was a push by Robert Williams III. They're not calling it, I'm telling you. Remember, the Heat has to beat the Celtics and the refs. Tyler Herro again. Long one. Misses. Rebound for the Celtics. Derek White. It's 16-9 now. Derek White to Robin Williams III. Easy basket for the Celtics. 18-9. Miami Heat now. Jimmy Butler attacking the basket. He makes it. 18-11. So far, the Celtics better than the Heat. I have to say that. 5 minutes left here in the first quarter. Jaylen Brown finds Jason Tatum for 3. He misses. Rebound for Tyler Herro. Tyler Herro, quick pace, going to the other side. Derek White gets him. Tyler Herro, pick and roll with Bam Adebayo, who attacks the basket. That's good for Bam. Both of them with a great play, both Tyler and Bam. Tyler Herro attacking, reading the double team, and then getting the ball to Bam. And Bam attacking the basket. That was important. Jaylen Brown now with the ball. 12 seconds. They find G3, W3, and 2 more points. They're winning the paint battle right there on the other end. It's 2013. Gabe Vincent now attacking the basket. He gets 2 points up and under. 2015. Now that's more like it. Now the Heat are playing. Now it's starting to look like the Miami Heat ball. Miami, it's 7-4-8. And right now, there's a foul call on Tyler Herro. Derek White. Tyler Herro gets a foul call against him. We'll see if what happened there. It looked like White slid, but again, it's Heat versus Celtics and the refs. So just get used to it. White misses the first free throw. Ball never lies. Ball never lies. That one is so important in this game to help Bam. Bam won. Bam needs to dominate this game with Hartford out. Our defense is heating up. Now Williams, our friend's W3 is going out. 8 minutes, 8 points. Great start for him. White makes the second one. It's 21-15 now. Tyler Herro. Oladipo in now. Dwayne Dedmon in as well. Tyler Herro. Double team on him. They find PJ, who finds Dwayne Dedmon. That's 2 easy points for Dwayne Dedmon. Great play for the Heat there. Pritchard is in for Boston. Daniel Theis as well. Jaylen Brown now with the ball. He finds Pritchard. Oladipo on him. Spins. Finds Grant Williams III, who attacks the basket. Didn't take the 3. Goes for spins and not good. Great pass by Tyler Herro to Jimmy Butler. So it's 21-19 now. 3 minutes left. 3 minutitos in the first quarter. Jaylen Brown attacking the basket. Great defense by Dwayne Dedmon. Rebound. Jimmy Butler attacking. He had Jason Tatum on him. Ball to Tyler Herro. Jumper. Floater. Good for the Miami Heat. It's 21-21 with 2 minutes 40 seconds, and that's a timeout for the Boston Celtics. Dedmon. Well, we'll call that first here in 5 reasons. Yes, you did, Jose. Great call right there. I haven't even put, I got so excited that I haven't even put here the Hangout stuff. So let's put it. I still have the Philadelphia one. So let's have the new one. There we go. Miami Heat versus Boston Celtics. 5 reasons Hangout. For all of you that are just getting here, welcome to the 5 reasons. The idea is to hang out here, talk about what's going on during the game. It's right now for the Heat, 6 points for Jimmy Butler, 4 for Bam Adebayo, 5 for Tyler Herro, 2 for Tucker, 2 for Vincent, and 2 for Dedmon, who got an immediate impact as he got in the game. For the Celtics, 20 points as well, 8 for Williams III, our friend W3. We're going to call him that in this series. Jason Tatum, 6 points as well. 3 for Grant Williams, 3 for Jaylen Brown, 1 for Derek White. And that's about it. Remember, no Marcus Smart or Horford tonight for the Celtics. First game of the series. How do you guys feel so far? It's been a good start of the game. it got exciting. Robbie Ayer says, "Can't let Herro get hot." Yeah, we want it. We want it. Okay, we're back. Fernando, you're back. Jose, Esposa Genius. Cool Iguana says, "I just got here. What that man do?" I mean, the Celtics were really winning the pain battle on our defensive end. So he got in. I mean, it wasn't crazy either. He got a good pass from PJ Tucker, had a dunk, and then a good defensive play that led into a fast break, and he tied it just like that. So it's a little impact, short but sweet. Short but sweet. And all right, we're gonna finish watching this first quarter. I do have some business to attend, but we're gonna leave this here so you guys can continue hanging out here during the game, and hopefully that brings another Miami Heat win. It's worked in the past, so why not? Let's keep doing it. Worst 6 minutes in Strus this season, but we turned it around. Yeah, look at how things changed when Herro came in for Strus. And that was a good call by Spoelstra, because usually what's been happening is that Herro comes in for Butler. And then that's not what happened. So good read there by Eric Spoelstra early in the game. Duncan should get a shot today. I agree. John Weasley also says, "Boston Celtics." Welcome, John. Please subscribe. We're going to be doing this for the entire series. We're going to be hanging out here. And if you're not enjoying the ESPN Celtics call too much, come over here. We got you here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. And if you're enjoying the ESPN call, well, stay there. But you can still hang out with us and leave your comments. Keep it up there, but leave your comments here. So that way we all have fun. And if you want to help us, please send your super chats. Super chat money. That's a contribution that we can start. The Miami Heat started 0 for 7 this game from the field, and since then 10 for 11. Neither of those two is gonna stay that way. So hopefully he can be more consistent. And here comes Pritchard finding Jason Tatum. Oh, that's another turnover. The ball in Depot's hands. Here comes Caleb Martin with the dunk. Caleb Martin's in. So Heat defense leading into Heat offense. And here we go. Jason Tatum again. Attacking the basket, and he gets 2 points. It's going to be hard to stop these guys. So you have to stop the rest of the guys. Jason Tatum, what a talent. 1 minute, 45 seconds left. Tatum, 8 points so far. Tyler Herro now. Spins back. Gets Tatum. Ooh, trying to pass the ball. Instead of, he should have shot that one earlier. Pritchard now with the ball. On the other hand, 23-23. He finds Derek White, who attacks the basket. He gets a call. And it's an offensive foul, finally. The Miami Heat getting one call. I thought he was going to call the defensive foul. Let's see. Here's the replay. Caleb Martin got out right on time. Right on time. All right, here we go. Jimmy Butler now. To his right. Ooh, that's an elbow in the chest. Not elbow, but shoulder. And he calls a foul on Jimmy Butler. Derek White went down. So it's 23-23, 1 minute 16 to go here. Jeff Green says Spoelstra will know when to use Duncan. And Ronald Forte says a fake by Strus will open, give him better looks. He catches the ball and shoots and makes him predictable. That's why he got blocked. All right, here we go. Last minute of the first quarter. Jason Tatum again. Floater, and it's good for Tatum. So 25-23. The Celtics didn't have a couple of good minutes with Tatum. Tatum's back, and their offense is running again. Oladipo getting the ball from Martin. Long two. Misses. Rebound for Strus. Back to Herro for 3. He misses. Daniel Theis with the rebound. Last 9 seconds of the quarter. He finds Pritchard for 3. And he makes it. Pritchard, 28-23. 30 seconds now left. Here we go. Tyler Herro getting the screen by Dedman. Herro floater, and it's good. 28-25. Great start for Tyler Herro in this series. Nothing like what we saw against the Sixers. Jason Tatum. He has Caleb Martin on him. This is the matchup we wanted to see on Caleb. Caleb trying to stop Jason. To Pritchard. He shoots it. He misses. And that's the end of the first quarter. Boston 28, Miami Heat 25. All right, guys, we'll be back. But stay here. Enjoy the rest of the game. Remember, keep your comments here. And let's enjoy the rest of the series. We'll be back with more Pace and Spaces at halftime on Twitter. And remember, as soon as the game's over, post-up show here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel.
Me dieron un bicho en el grupo y que no sé si lo conozco.